The regular monthly meeting of the Board of Finance is called to order. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and the next order of business will be seating of alternates. Let's see. I think it would be appropriate for Vivian to be seated. And is our practice if we have, we need 6, right? 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if there are no objections, Vivian will be seated. Welcome. And we give a little speech every time we have our first meeting, and we tell our alternates that they are full, except for voting, they are full members. We anticipate that they will participate. And their voice, if not their vote, has equal weight in our deliberations. So, John, please do not fail to participate, okay?
Well, I'm just going to crawl on this table.
Okay. Approval of the minutes of November 17th. I wasn't here, so I don't know if they were right. You think they're good?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining?
I'll abstain.
If you choose. I think you can vote.
You can as
You
a technical
can,
matter,
but
and even though I was
it's
physically
bad
here and present,
form, yeah.
I feel more comfortable.
The motion is passed. Public comments. Comments from the public? Okay, hearing none. New business. First order of business would be voting for officers. We need a chairman and a vice chairman. Does someone want to make a nomination for chairman?
Seconded.
Made and seconded. Are there any other nominations?
Are you hoping for another nomination?
No, I just think I should ask.
I think you have to, right?
Yeah,
Robert's
I think
rules
that's
are
the Robert's rules, as we were talking about. All those in favor? Mr. Michaels, say by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? So ordered, and thank you. We now need a vice chairman. It's been our practice to have a member of the loyal opposition, but now it's not an opposition to equal weight. Is there not?
I was going to nominate Tom Connor.
I'd second it.
Terrific. Are there any other nominations for vice chairman? Hearing none. All those in favor of Mr. Connor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? So ordered. We have our officers. Updated on the Milliman actuarial numbers. Dan?
Jen from Milliman was here last time. We asked her to redo her analysis on a 12 and 15-year pay down. So we have those reports, and it would bring down our contribution slightly for budgetary numbers. It was in there, Betsy.
It would be very helpful if
There.
you could explain to us mere mortals
So,
what the 12 and the 15 years are.
no, I pulled the other ones out of the minutes, so this is the 12-year one here.
You turned on? Okay, just-
I am. So this one here is the 12-year pay down, and that would be the way that we look at it is to do the actuarial evaluation over 12 years as opposed to 10 when Jen came here last time.
Dan, excuse me, could you remind us, we've got a new plan for a 12-year pay down of something, new plan for a 15-year pay down of something, and the old plan. Could you
Yes,
remind us what it is again?
What we're trying to do is we're coming up with our actuarial deposit for the budgetary numbers and looking out what that would be for the next 12 years. So, and when we would get to end up funding percentage. So if we follow the 12-year plan, if you look, our contribution would be 899, 901, 520 from the budget and 381 from the general fund. and we would be fully at 93.7 funding. So if you go down the list, you'd see as we get to 100% would be 2034 in this model.
That's on the
That's on the 12-year.
12-year. This is the combined plans, right?
Yep, the
Okay.
combined. And then on the 15-year, it's the same thing in 2034 to be 99.1% funded, but it would actually bring down the annual budgetary number to 856 as opposed to 901. And it would leave us at 93.6% funding in fiscal year 27 as opposed to 93.7 on the 12-year layered.
And before we change to what were we using before? We were using 10?
We were using 10, John.
We're using 10. And that caused us to get to, quote, 100.
We were gonna be at 100 in 2031.
The 100% was, excuse me, the 10% was in 31. The 12% was in
34.
34, and the 15% is in 36 or
years.
something. 15 years. Were there any other recommendations they made for changing actuarial assumptions?
No, the only things we had asked Jen last meeting was to do it on a 12 and 15 year before we decide what we were gonna use for budgetary numbers for this year.
Tom, thoughts?
Well, the thought that I gave Jack last time was why change it?
Well, yeah.
Besides kind of funny pushing the money into the future logic, which is all going to change by next year anyway. But if we want to do funny, push the money into the future logic, that's okay. But why, I mean, 6 and 1, as far as I can understand, well, when we had Jen here, I mean, the question is it viewed as verboten? Like, we could do 100 years, but is that verboten? No, it probably is, because that's kind of outside the line of genuinely accepted practice. Whether 12 or 15 years is in line with generally accepted practice, I don't know, but I'm sure 10 years is, right?
She said 10 was on the fast side. A lot of organizations use 12 and 15. She also said that we're probably in the 98th percentile in terms of funding ratio already.
Right.
So, you know, the question is, the question that we posed was just trying to understand the sensitivity of the contributions to the funding ratio.
Right, and she didn't really have an answer to that.
He didn't
last
have an answer, so that's why we asked her to
That's
do
why
the
we
math.
asked it.
And then
So,
if we-
you know, as we see, it appears that the funding level would be down 25,000 at the 12-year level, and
It goes from
50,000 at
946 at the 10-year to 901 at the 15-year to 856, I mean, at the 12-year, sorry, and 856 at the 15-year.
So we could
the
arbitrarily,
50 and
once-
100.
we could save ourselves 100,000 once this year by doing it.
By doing it
But I
this
wouldn't
way.
change it this year and change it back and do it
No,
arbitrarily.
No,
it
yeah.
becomes
If
perpetual.
we're
It
gonna,
would
if we're
carry
gonna change it,
forward.
we would keep it consistent moving forward.
Well, one of our objectives has always, one, follow best practices, and two, be as conservative as we can afford as a concept. So not, 10, 12, and 15 are in general accepted practice. To be as, quote, as conservative as you can afford would be 10. Because
Yes.
we can afford
Well,
to be,
and especially since we've used 10 previously, I guess.
right.
I mean, because we have to have sort of a good reason for changing it, I think, besides, you know.
I don't see a reason. There's always going to be budget pressure, but things happen. Things happen. And the more we can get this thing funded, the better. So,
It's pretty well funded right now.
Well, that is a good reason. I mean, so we are pretty well funded. At the same time, as I think I reminded you last time, we're gonna have a big off the cliff, no matter what we get next year, unless we get some outrageous amount, the funding's gonna go, and it's gonna go down because we're rolling off,
29,
we're rolling off a really big number.
we're rolling off at 29% this year.
Yeah, so that the actuarial number is gonna go down, the funding unless we hit some big, huge number this year, the actuarial number is gonna go down just by actuarial logic next year.
The number being the amount of money we have to put in, or the funding ratio.
The general.
The funded
fund, yeah.
ratio, the funded ratio.
The funded ratio,
29%
yeah.
gain that we've been benefiting from for the last several years.
There's a second issue, and I don't mean it to muddle the thinking, but if we're going to decide on this, we need to think about the other one. Our practice for a long time, has been to keep the general fund contributions steady. Steady. And any difference comes out of the unassigned general fund. And the number, Jen never seems to be able to remember how we want this to be laid out. So if we continue to follow that practice, in spite of what she's typed here, and we're going to ask her to retype it with the general fund steady.
What did we give last year, do you remember? What did we do last year?
I have it, Tom. We did,
Well, that would be it, right?
The 812, the 6, should have been, I'm pretty sure, I remember the budget, it was steady.
The 287 ought to be the number for this year.
287 plus,
That's this year.
Well, that's,
we took 612 out of the actual budget line, and then we did 287 out of the fund balance.
make sure my words are right. From budget, that is the thing that we keep steady, because that's what the taxpayers face, that it addresses the mill rate each year. So we've kept that steady. The quote from the general fund, it's from the unassigned general fund, which is the floating surplus, which we float back into the budget over time.
So for example, in fiscal year 24-25, we took $441,000 from the unassigned fund balance. In fiscal year 25-26, we took 287 because the contribution was less.
That's the one that floats, because we want to keep the general fund steady. So that's a data point. I want to remind everybody that is probably what our practice is, and we will ask Jan to reprint these if she would, so we don't disremember.
Well, if we're doing that, and then again, we change to 12 or 15 years, we create kind of a discontinuity, in my mind, where we're comparing apples and oranges.
Move your hand, okay, you're being there, thank you. What?
Well, keeping steady under constant assumptions, okay? If you change the assumptions, everything changes, you know? And so if you change to 12 or 15 years, you've created a discontinuity, right, in my mind. And so you can say you're keeping it steady, but, you know, it may look like you're just fudging assumptions to keep it steady, right?
I'm sensing from John and Jack, anyone else is welcome to chime in with either a comment or a question. If I don't hear anything, I'm sensing that we don't have a will to change it. We should keep it at 10. Dan, what do you?
I would think, in speaking with Jen, she said 10, 12, or 15 is acceptable. I may look at the 12 based upon what we're doing, and we are always going to be consistent with our contribution from the general fund, so budgetarily it won't affect anything. It will just bring down what we're taking from our unassigned fund balance this year.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Because we're always consistent with what our contribution is from the general fund to keep it
Yes.
steady. So if we went to the 12-year, our number from the unassigned would go from 287 to 243. So we wouldn't be using as much of fund balance this year,
Yes.
but we'd be making the full actuarial contribution.
Right, well, I'm okay with that. Just don't come to me next year and go back to 10 or go to 15. Like, you just can't bop it around.
I think if we make the change, we have to stay at 12.
Right,
And we should keep it there.
Yes. Okay.
Are we trying to make this decision Are we trying to make this decision tonight?
Yeah, we were trying to make it last time. I thought,
I'm trying to figure out why we shouldn't. I don't know what new information we would get. Dan has framed it that with keeping the budget number the same, no matter which of the options we choose. The difference is how much will we be taking from the unassigned general fund? And we'll take a little less. Well, it goes up and down with what rolls on and what rolls off. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess that's my question is, what are we trying to achieve? The budget number is going to stay the same. You explained it, the unassigned fund balance. Do we anticipate, Dan, a greater need from that unassigned fund balance than we have in years past for something else? Or, I know it's early, but I know you've already been working on this. I mean, unless we anticipate needing more of that for some other, something in the budget that we don't know about yet.
No, from what I'm seeing right now is I don't think we'll be needing to take more or less from the unassigned fund balance this year, Steve. I think we'll be pretty consistent with what we take every year, maybe a little less this year.
Yeah.
Because last year we had to take some because of the storm, but this year I think we'll be okay, God willing, if there's no storms or anything like
Right.
that.
I mean, that's the tough part of this. We still have any more.
Now, to Tom's point, though, next year, we may have to take a little more only because of the 29% dropping off. So our contribution may be greater next year based upon that, because we level off over 5 years.
To Jack's question, are we going to decide or do we have to decide tonight? We don't have to. I would submit that we should, because as Dan puts together the funding plan for all our reserves, he needs to know
you can lock it in and get
how
on
much
with
is
other
coming
things.
out of this one.
Yeah.
So it would be helpful if we did do it.
I'd like to move that we go with a 12-year schedule.
We have a motion to switch to a 12-year amortization schedule. Is there a second?
Second.
Tom, seconds. Any further discussion?
John, just one input.
Yes, John.
One of the things that concerns me with the general
Closer to
fund.
the speaker, please, John.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I think we have to look at the general fund is not the amount specific, but I don't think we want to do anything with cutting that general fund to the point where it is going to do anything to diminish the bond rating, because the bond rating depends materially on what your general fund is and how much you have in reserve and so forth. And if we do enough of a cut that is going to affect the bond rating, that is going to hurt us in the long run.
I think to that point, the bond rating is significantly affected by the funded ratio, which is one very rich, and under either case, wouldn't change significantly relative to bond rating.
Yeah, no, we're still well above where we would need to be as far as our fund balance. We have no risk of fund balance dipping by doing this strategy.
But again, if I were an astute auditor or bond auditor, I wouldn't like us flip-flopping. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it once, right? Saves us a little money this year, right? But I don't want to come back next year and say, well, let's go to 15 or let's go to 10. I'm going to just, what the heck? I don't know.
Okay, as far as doing it once, you mean making a fundamental change once rather than making it 12 once. You don't want to make it 12 once and go back next year.
Yeah, I mean,
You want a fundamental change.
This isn't something you just do every year. Oh, let's see, 10, 12,
That's right.
15, right? You do it once and then go forward, right? And leave it that way at least for 5 or 6 years, right? Because if you fool around with it every year, you look like you're just messing.
Yeah, and I think from an audit standpoint, Tom, we are probably in the top 90%, at least in Connecticut, if not, I can't say nationally, in Connecticut, between funded status and our discount rate. So we're at 93% funding with a 6.25% discount rate, which is
No,
almost unheard of in a lot of municipalities or the state.
So I don't see any problem with that, but I don't like messing with the assumptions too much.
I'm trying to remember the last time we messed with this assumption. I don't remember that.
We haven't. This is the
We
first time
haven't.
we had
This is
chance to
a-
put- Yeah.
Michael?
Well, one of my concerns is it doesn't seem like there's an urgency that we have to do this. And to Tom's point, we don't want to be in a situation where, well, we did it last year, we did it 2 years ago, let's go back to the 10, let's go. So I'm not quite sure that there's the urgency to change this. We may want to keep that option open in the future if we do need to do something. Like, it seems like everything's working fine. I'm still not convinced that this is a necessary change. And if we are only going to get one shot, perhaps we should be conservative and wait for a better opportunity when we really need to make that change.
Dan, are there benefits to keeping it at 10 so it's fully funded 3 years?
Well, I think there's benefits to not have it fully funded.
Consistency.
Yeah, we do. We
Because
don't
if
want
you-
it to overfund.
because
That was
you get
part of the
into
reason
other
we were going to
problems.
overfund in a number of years at 10, and we don't want to overfund
You
because there's other
get
problems.
another problems if you really fully fund it. The beauty of fully funding it, though, is then we can just start taking that, if we really got it fully funded, we can start taking money out of all those things and keeping the money that's up there.
And if we were getting really close, I'd almost recommend reducing the discount rate even further.
Let me do this. It's an interesting point. Let's get a motion to table this until our next meeting. The rationale being, Dan will have had a chance to look at take a long view on our reserve fund, the funding of all our reserve funds, and whether or not we need a lower allocation from the unassigned general fund to support the reserve funds, and a modest, boy, this increase in the decrease of the increase, you get lost in the logic. Why don't we wait? Why don't we wait
Well, and
till next month?
so I don't know how,
Happy to withdraw the motion.
All right, I'll
Let's
make a,
just, we'll do table, because that's
wanna
official.
table it?
Yeah, we're
All
gonna
right.
follow official,
but the other, I guess,
Robert's
my
rules,
other
yes.
question would be, how much do we need it in this year's budget? Like, we lost the school lottery, didn't we, this year?
We lost the school lottery this year. We're still putting together,
Yeah.
the departmentals. Tim and myself met with some of the departments today. One thing where I think we're gonna, see a big increase is in our labor line, because medical insurance rates, right now, we're getting initial quotes somewhere between 12 and 15% increase. And, before we start negotiating that. The other issue is gonna be on our regular insurance line. Now, we looked at our workers' compensation and things like that, and our experience is low, but we're probably gonna look at another, 10 there as well. Those are the two big drivers of where the budget's gonna be impacted. Because the departmentals, I think, are coming in fairly lean, so far.
Okay, why don't we do this? I'd like to entertain a motion to table until the treasurer believes it's appropriate for us to bring this back again.
I'd make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? A second? Everyone who wants to second it.
No, I was going to ask a question. I was
Why don't
too
we-
fast.
Well, once we get into table, we can't talk.
Right.
But so why don't we, I'm
I'm too
not going
slow,
to
I should-
recognize the second quite yet. Steve, you have a
Right.
comment?
I just making sure, we're under no obligation or time frame from Jen, correct? This is something where-
No, this is something that we'll do in the budget process, so.
No, not at all.
That's the next part. Their only constraints is our own internal.
This would
budget
go to
calendar.
April.
Our only
We were
constraint
hoping-
is we have to make the actuarial determined contributions, so that we have to make next year.
Yes, we
so.
have. So that's it. It's us internally having to know what we're going to put in, but to Jen, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Thank you.
Now we'll recognize Vivian's second. Motion to table are not debatable. So all those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, we are tabled. Next on the agenda,
We gotta remember, I have a motion on the table.
DUI grants. Oh, my goodness.
So
Dan?
when we went independent with our police department, one of the reasons or the good reasons we were able to do that is we were able to go after some of these grants where when we were under the state, we weren't. So the police chief went to look for 2 grants. The first one is this DUI grant, which is a $24,000 reward, and it just supports initiatives to improve traffic safety through efficient enforcement practices, and is to reduce the number of crashes, injuries, and fatalities from impaired driving. So we're looking for the Board of Finance approval to take this grant.
Let's see, we're under the new charter rules now. The staff and I imagine almost anyone, I guess, could apply for a grant, but can't be accepted by the town until the Board of Finance says yes. The reason that is in the charter, from the Board of Finance's perspective, there are terms and conditions in grants that come up and sometimes can be strange, onerous, things we don't want to do, and may not be worth accepting the grant. I don't think anyone on the board yet has actually seen the grant itself. Dan, can you tell us, is there a document, a grant document?
I can get it from the chief and forward it to you guys, the document, forward it to everyone on the board.
Oh, I'm sure he's seen it.
Yep.
But the Board of Finance hasn't.
Yep.
And
Sure, we can send it to everyone out. But when we looked at it, there was no local match or any costs associated.
there was nothing other than that the money needs to be spent for what it was to be spent for.
So,
That doesn't require us to spend it for anything unusual relative to policing for DUI stuff?
that's it.
Okay. Motion to accept the grant. Vivian, thank you. Is there a second for accepting the grant?
I'll second.
Tom, second the grant. Motion made and second to accept the DUI grant. Any other further comments? Hearing none,
In the
all
future,
yes, Mike?
could we obtain the actual grants in the future
Yeah,
before
I'll
we're
get
voting
them.
on it?
I'll get
I'm
them
not-
from the-
I'll take
Take it on faith.
I'll
at
take
this
it on
time.
faith, and I'll take it on your faith, Dan, but I'd really like to see the
Absolutely.
grants in the future.
In the future,
We'll get them to you guys.
Could you
so
send
can
it-
read 'em as well? Yep,
thanks.
Sure. And then the second one is
Did we finish voting?
I think we have to vote for it.
We haven't voted.
Well, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. Dan, next. Thank you.
The second grant is also from Chief Grillo. It's a bulletproof vest partnership grant. So it's a $12,220 grant. It's to reimburse the town 50% of the cost to purchase new bulletproof vests for our officers. Each vest costs $1,220, and it'll offset the expenses to the town.
Is the 24,000 or
It's $12,220 this grant.
either of those in our reserve fund plan?
No, neither one are in our reserve.
Okay, so
Because
we
how
didn't
the
anticipate.
vests work, and I think Betsy, you probably know better than I do. The vests, we provide the first vest, but then the police officer has to buy all the ones after that. So this would help offset the ones that they're buying after. So as part of the contract, we provide the first bulletproof vest. Now, those have to be replaced every couple of
But
years.
don't they already have one?
They have one, but they have to be replaced every number of years, John, so they expire. So this would help us offset the cost of the officers having to pay for their
So-
own vest moving forward.
So the contract is read to understand that whenever they have to be replaced, they do the first one, we do the second?
We buy the first one, then they do the second, the officer does the second,
They do the
At each cycle?
at each cycle.
At each cycle, that's, okay, thank you.
When you say they, are you talking about
Pol-
police officers?
The police officers themselves,
Pay $1,200 for a vest?
yes. We buy the town will buy the first one, and then when they have to be replaced, the officer will buy that themselves.
And just to be clear, when I first read this, that's not a typo. That's a $12,220
$12,220
grant, and then each vest costs
$100.
approximately $1,220.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
About 10.
It's
10
20.
vests.
20 vests worth of money.
About 10.
10 vests worth of money.
50%.
Right,
1220.
50, I gotcha.
$1,220 for each.
Yeah, but 50%, so I don't get the.
But it's two vests.
It's buy one, get one free?
Yeah, I don't,
We have what, 17 officers?
$12,000 will offset
50%.
$24,000
Yep,
worth of
you're right.
purchases.
That's-
$24,000 worth of purchases is 20 vests.
Right, exactly.
So this will offset
20.
the
20.
50% of the next 20 vests that need
Yes.
to be purchased.
You're right.
Which is, because we have 17 officers?
No, we have 24
we have
officers right now.
24.
So it's not quite everybody, so it's not quite a 5-year cycle, but it's like a 4.5-year cycle here. So we might want to get this again in 4.5 years, if we want to continue it.
Dan, under the terms of the grant, it's not just a 1-year grant, like we can use it for up to the 4-year, 5-year cycle, whatever we need it for.
I believe we can, Michael, but I'll determine that and I'll let you know, but I believe we can.
These vests have a lifetime?
They do.
5 years.
Yeah, 5-year.
Oh, this is the rule that says it has to be replaced, whether it deteriorates or not, like the fire department equipment, turnout gear, okay. Okay, well, and there's nothing, again, subject to actually seeing the grant itself, which we'll do next time. Dan, is there anything unusual in this?
Nothing unusual in talking to Chief Grillo, and no real outlay to the town, so I'm accepting it.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the acceptance of the grant. Is there such a
Dan, is
motion?
enough yet?
Can I still say, I don't fully understand, if the officers themselves are buying their vests, but this is going to be reimbursing the town for 50%. So
buy
are we then,
Well
as a
then-
town, going
well
to be?
then-
Buy the
reimburse
first,
the
they buy the
officers.
second. They've
I
got to
underst-
have,
I understand that, but presumably we have 24 officers, they all have a working vest, they all bought it first. Or unless we're gonna hire a brand new 24 officers, I don't,
It does say we're reimbursing the town for 50%.
yeah, we're not reimbursing or we're reimbursing the town and then we give it to the officers of the.
We're gonna reimburse the officers, that's how it would work.
Over the next
That-
5 years.
is that allowed under the grant?
Years.
Okay.
Yeah.
wait, did you say we're going to reimburse the officers?
Just they're gonna pay for it and submit, yeah. And we'll reimburse them.
The town pays for it,
50%.
and they reimburse. So the
But it-
town's paying first for the vest?
Is this now us taking on a new obligation to then buy all the vests? That's what I'm not understanding.
No, it's in the contract. This is just us offsetting, the cost for the amount that we have in here, but we have no obligation to buy the second vest for the officers.
So the police contract says they buy the vests
We buy the first one, John. They buy the 5 years, the second one,
at each cycle.
at each cycle.
And it's a 5-year cycle.
10 years
So once
and
every
15
5 years, we buy 20 vests and they buy 20 vests. No.
No.
We buy 20 vests. When the officer starts, we buy their vest. 5 years, they have to buy the second one.
So this money, if we
Okay.
take this grant, is gonna go towards reimbursing officers.
Go toward reimbursing them.
50%.
Their personal outlay for their vest.
Yes.
This is not gonna cover a new officer's vest necessarily.
No.
By contract, the town has an obligation to spend a certain amount of money on vests. The chief of police has found a grant that will offset some of that our town obligation, correct?
Our
Estimation?
obligation is already covered because
Right.
all of our officers have already received their
But
vests.
what I
We've
mean
already-
is, the chief
This
has
will-
found a grant that will help offset some
They'll
of
help
that.
offset some of the cost of those, yes.
All right.
Us or or the police officer, I'm confused. Like, so,
Town has spent the
who gets
money.
the money? We get the money?
When the officers buy their vests, they'll submit an invoice to us. We'll reimburse them 50% of that with this grant money. That's what we'll do
For the first 20 vests.
for the first 20. We'll probably, I imagine, apply for this grant again.
Oh, I'm still
And this
confused.
happens-
I thought they've all bought the first 20 vests. Is there, be buying?
Yeah,
them?
but you forget, Tom, our officers are staggered, so 6 of our officers are on the job for 15 years. So they've already bought 3 vests, so they're probably due to buy another one
Okay.
in another year. So 3 of our officers are 10 years, so it's
So when
not.
when they buy a new vest, then they submit us to pay for 50% of the new vest?
They'll submit and we will pay for it with this grant, yes. If not, if we don't accept this grant, we will not. They'll pay for 100%
Okay, all right, got
of
it.
the vest.
Okay, got it.
And you check to make sure that there are no, I forget the word I'm looking for, but extra circumstances that might encumber us.
Yeah, no, we checked. There's nothing with this, obligations on this.
And my only concern again was the concept of expiration. This is something that we can, if we use it now, we can use it for the next 4 years or so. It's not like we have to buy all the vests now and let them.
Yeah, we wouldn't
expire.
do that. It does make sense. Yeah,
Just making sure.
yeah.
Again, without the grant, it's a little hard to.
Yep,
to say.
absolutely.
Okay,
There's
are
a
we
motion and a
satisfied?
second.
We understand. I think we do have a motion, correct? We do have a motion. Are we through addressing? Whoops.
He did call a motion earlier.
No, but nobody, we got talking about it.
We got
Nobody-
caught in discussion.
Oh.
We'll start over again. Is there a motion to accept the grant?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vivian. Any further discussion, clarifications? All those in favor of the motion? You make a say
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? So ordered. And again, Jack, Dan, next time we have a grant request coming, could you send,
Yeah, we'll set it with the.
tell me as soon as you know, and we'll decide based on how voluminous the paperwork is. We want to send everybody a copy. How do we want to handle our mandatory review? What we've done in the past, we've had a couple of people volunteer to look at it and report back to us that, yeah. So next time we have one, tell us and we'll work that out. I'll work it out with Tom, what we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's see, bulletproof. First Selectman's report. Let's see, have you found the bathroom yet? It's been a couple of days anyway.
Pretty busy lately, but I have a brief one here. Public Works is in full winter mode. They've already been out 4 times this year due to the freezing weather conditions and the recent snow. We're at the beginning of the budget season, been going through a number of budgets already. Department heads have prepared their budgets. We've met with the building department, the tax department, fire marshal, public works, and emergency management. Town employees are very professional, and that really stands out. The meetings with other departments will continue this week. We're in the process of reviewing the IT director applications and learning about IT remote options. And we are reviewing grant options to understand requirements and responsibly understand reporting, match, and personal requirements. That's all I have for you.
Thank you. Any questions of the First Selectman about that or anything else?
Well, I guess, given that we've had, I guess, a lot of events already, how many events do we have in our budget for the snow plowing?
We budget 20 storms.
20
and then-
storms.
And then we have that reserve as well, but we budget for 20 storms.
Just FYI, so it hasn't happened in a couple years, but like a couple years back, we had a lot of storms, more storms than we budgeted. So if you get to the point where we start having more storms than we budgeted, then we got to figure out how to manage that.
Yeah, the great thing is our salt shed is full, and there doesn't seem to be an issue with getting salt this year yet.
Well, luckily, we have the reserve fund so that you don't have to worry until I think we have a reserve fund of, was it $200,000?
$170,000.
170?
Yeah.
And that
170.
was something like 7, 8 storms, something
Yeah.
like that. So well, hopefully you'll be covered.
Our guys did, I mean, they did another great job. Our public works guys, they do an incredible job when it's storming, getting the roads cleared, so.
And that covers salt, sand, and overtime, whatever the costs are. Okay, keep moving on. Finance Director, budget dates.
So we have the budget dates I sent out to everyone. There is one change we have to make because due to charter, the second public hearing, we have to move that to the April Board of Finance meeting. So we have to set that for the 6 o'clock prior to that meeting because it has to be after the budget is approved by the new charter requirement.
Okay, so the charter, the change from, we're not going to be in the same position we were in last year in the sense that once we propose our budget, there's going to be a possibility for
A
people
subsequent meeting, yes.
to give feedback before it's done and dusted, right?
And I think we're going to be proposing the budget on April 6th, according to the schedule. And then we will have a meeting on the 13th at 6 o'clock to do a hearing. And we will finalize our budget recommendation at a regular meeting that starts at 7, or however the clock works after that.
Yeah, because I believe the Board of Finance has to have their budget by the April 15th.
Okay.
So that's why we schedule the 6th, and then after that will be the next meeting.
So I think we're on, the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance work under this same budget. Historically, on April, where is the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance? The February 23rd through 26th, Tim, the February 23rd through 26th meetings are your meetings with department heads. And we have always been invited to observe and ask questions so that we have as much information as you do. And then when we have our budget meeting to actually set it on
April
April
6th.
6th, we'll invite you to come to listen and participate with us. You know, you get to vote at your meeting, we get to vote in ours. But hopefully that invitation will continue to be extended. Also, when you send the budget to your Board of Selectmen, it's usually sent to us too, so we can start to see it and think about it.
Yeah, well, when we release the budget live in Dropbox, I believe everyone on this board will have access to it, and the Board of Selectmen as well.
Oh, okay.
That will be when Tim releases his budget. When it goes live, everyone will have access to the Dropbox, and they'll be able to see what's in there.
And I guess I would say, you know, given last year's experience was the first time I went through it that way. We seem to, every year prior to that, when I remember, be kind of in sync with the Board of Selectmen going into our final budget. But I don't know, I guess it's my view at least, that we can't consistently be above inflation in increases in budget. Or it's sort of my job here to question that. And last year we got into a little bit of a spat with the Board of Selectmen, because I think we were initially handed like a 5% increase and was on top of a year where we'd already.
5.3, I think.
On a year where we'd already been handed a above inflation kind of increase. And if the Board of Selectmen is gonna I guess under certain circumstances, maybe Board of Selectmen will hand us could do it that, but if they do that, I expect the Board of Selectmen to do the politics about it. Otherwise, I feel like it's my job, it's different than my job as a citizen, my job as Board of Finance, to try to keep, and you'll see through the budget, it's almost impossible to go that much below inflation. It's difficult to go below inflation because you've got a lot of things that are tied to inflation in the budget. But if we go significantly above inflation, then I think, you know, Board of Selectmen's asking for trouble with Board of Finance in a way, or it needs to be explained, or we need to really make it clear to the public before we go to vote.
Our guideline historically has been inflation plus growth in the grand list, and the growth in the grand list is 1/4 to 1%, very, very small. And last year we had a $900,000 IBM thing that added to the 5.3% increase was just a bridge too far. That probably won't happen again, I would imagine. Okay, well, thank
Just
you
to
for that, Jack.
reiterate, my understanding is the change in '26 versus what we had in '25 was that we have this public hearing,
A second. We
second
have a
public
second
hearing,
hearing after, that's the only change.
which is what happens at 6 o'clock on the 13th.
Correct. Yes,
And
that's correct.
and then immediately following that, we'll have our normal meeting and approve the
But
finance
hopefully, I mean,
board's budget.
what frustrated me last year is we kind of had our shot across the bow meeting, you know, and it went to the Board of Selectmen, where but then I was told by you, John, and I didn't really understand all the rules at that time until I had to live through them, right? Well, only thing in our charter is we do the budget, we do our cuts, and we give it to the public, right? This case, we have, we can finalize our budget and then hear from the public, I guess.
Correct,
And-
that's the charter
Right.
change,
Right.
right. Okay, that's that. Next item.
Next is the internal audit report. I don't know if anyone had a chance to review the report. We look at all these reports as a way to make improvements, and certainly we will look at that and work on the things that were
Dan,
picked up. And
can I start first with a mini review of what is this all about?
Sure. So we're one of the few towns in Connecticut that also do an internal audit using an external auditor. So CLA comes in and they pick a department every year. We have a plan. It's the highest priorities first and then go down the line. So we went through all of our high priorities over the past few years. We got those worked out, and now we're working on some of the lower ones that were in the report. So this year, CLA picked the IT department and the IT asset management as their look at. So they came in, they looked at the IT department. There's some things that we could look and improve upon, which we'll work on, and that's how we look at this report. There are some things that came out really well, and there are a few things that we do need to work on, and we're in the process of doing that.
My only question about it when I looked at it, right? So when I used to do these things in corporate land, it was to get something I wanted. And so is there going to be some sort of like software suggestion in the budget about, oh, no, we need this software because we don't do this software? Or is there something in the budget that's coming out of this?
Yeah, we're gonna have a $1 million server project. No, Tom, sorry. There's nothing in here other than the fact that it's informational for us of ways to look to improve our departments and what we're looking at. So a couple of things in here that are, I think, are really easy fixes, or just approving the invoices, and we've already started that process, getting all the bills in and getting them processed and paid. And
It looked like it was a front for a certain software for this kind of thing.
No, we're not recommending this year. I don't believe anyway, but as everyone knows, we're deciding how to build this department out right now. But as far as I know, we're not looking for any
I
additional
mean,
software or anything.
I'm not opposed to the software. I just want to make sure that this isn't the kind of.
This isn't a setup.
No, we
This
do.
This is not a setup to
Our-
a precursor to some
Our,
big thing.
our
no.
budgets in Southbury, we ask all our departments to put in what they need, what they think they need. So if there was a need for it, it would be in the departmental budget.
Okay.
Dan, is there obviously there's a lot of things here, so there can't be probably one date, but some of these things you said were easy fixes. I mean, is there a timeline on some of these? Oh, these 3 we fixed already, these are gonna take us several months. Do you have an idea on some
Yeah,
of these fixes, what we could be looking at?
I think most of these fixes can be done by the end of January.
Okay.
They sound like, when I read it, it was all process.
It's all process.
People
It's
weren't
really
doing what is
process and
traditionally done
documentation,
and should have been
we'll,
done.
And we're working on it. We know we have to start getting more process improvement, and we'll work on that and get it done.
So I guess what you're telling us, because you're the IT guy, because the IT guy isn't here, that the nature of these is such that certainly before the next 3-4 months, the unsatisfactories and needs improvements will be addressed and
Yeah, we'll
improved.
have CLA come in and do a follow-up probably in April, just to ensure that all of the stuff that was on here is fixed and moving forward corrected. And I know on some of the stuff, we've already worked on it and got it, like the cell phone bills and things like that. We have a better handle on those now, and we do have them all in and processed. And
Some 10 years ago, Dick Hill got frustrated because he read the annual report and there was a big exclusion for finding anything that was wrong. They were just going to do some reasonable assurance that the numbers were reasonably correct. And he didn't like that. And we determined that, as Dan said, we're one of 10 of 169 cities and towns in the state that has an internal audit that audits by independent people the processes and procedures and looking for best practices. And I think we have a budget of, what, $25,000 a year to do that. Well, that's how this got to be here and what we're doing and why.
We convinced the school to do it yet or not?
the school actually is doing an internal audit, and they're using CLA as well. Their budget's a little smaller than ours for it, but I think they used them last year, and I think they used them again this year. The only issue we'll have moving forward is our partner, our principal, he retired, so I don't know if we haven't had a new principal for the internal audit side of it named yet, so we're waiting to find out who it is. Vanessa, our town auditor, retired as well, so.
Are there any other questions of anyone about the comments, the remediation plan, the history, anything at all? If not, we'll move along. Minutes should reflect that Dan is going to be taking on the responsibility of assuring that within the next 3 or 4 months that the recommendations are attended to. Is that right, Dan? Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Let's make sure that that the re-audit happens
Yes, we will make sure we'll have,
and a report is written
Yep.
and we review that report
absolutely.
at the appropriate time.
That's the way it should be done.
Yes.
Next, library staffing.
So last budget cycle, when we went through the budget, the library was not operational, so due to the storm. So when we went through the budget, there were 2 staff members that were not hired. And they were in the budget, but they were not hired. So what we did, we took $25,000 out of the budget pending the library reopening. Now that the library's reopened, the head librarian came to us and said she'd like to now fill those positions because they're a little 2 people short, 2 part-time employees. So we would like to come up with a plan to put the $25,000 back into their budget. And probably from our contingency line, which has about $125,000 in there right now, to make a transfer at some point to fund those positions back so she can hire the 2 positions back that we eliminated due to the storm.
Dan, I'm sorry, I thought when we did last year's budget, we assumed that the library would open January 1st, and we funded the positions from January 1st on. Are you talking about funding retroactively for November, December when libraries open?
No,
I'm missing something.
when we did the budget last year, John, we took $25,000 out of the library budget.
I know, because we assumed
Which
that
would
the
be funding the
part-timers,
positions from opening to the end of the year, this year, which is where we're at right now.
okay,
But I agree with, I think I agree with both you in the sense that, but I think you would have said yes to what John said, right? Which is that this money is basically it's filling the gap between when we actually open versus we assumed it wouldn't open until January 1st.
Yes.
That's
okay,
Yes. Yes.
I didn't hear
Sorry,
you
no,
said
it's-
that way, I'm
yes.
sorry, my error.
Okay.
Okay, that's a point of information. There is going to be funding for,
There'll be a transfer
We
sometime.
will have a transfer probably next meeting, and so we can get started in hiring these 2 positions.
okay,
Point of information, looking at the numbers, was the 6,247 of operating expenses also affected, or are we just talking about the 25,000?
No, the 6,000 was across the board, 2% cut out of every budget. So
That
we're just
wasn't-
talking
that had
about the
nothing to
2
do with
positions.
storm or
Had nothing to do
anything.
with the storm, no.
and park damage.
I don't know if you guys have seen the social media, but Tim and I went over to the park. There's a considerable amount of damage in Ballantyne Park and Settlers Park. Someone ended up breaking into the pavilion and completely destroying the internals of that building by ripping urinals off the wall, sinks off the wall, toilets completely off the wall.
When did that happen?
So it's thousands. It was Thanksgiving weekend, so thousands and thousands of dollars, somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000 in damage. So our insurance estimator is coming tomorrow and going to give us an estimate. The police are doing an active investigation, and hopefully we catch whoever did it. But it's a considerable amount of damage, so we'll see that affect our insurance line next year.
Is the cost to repair the damage will be covered by insurance except for the deductible?
The deductible,
And how much is that, do you know?
5,000.
5,000? What are we going to do to make sure, well, you can't make sure it doesn't happen because these buildings are open.
One thing we didn't
Cameras are
have,
there?
we didn't have
Are there any
cameras in the
cameras?
parks, and we will put.
We're going to put
we're gonna
cameras in.
Park, that's something that Tim has stressed that
Okay.
we need to do right away, so we will make sure that's done.
Yeah, they were both locked. They actually.
They were locked, they crowbarred the lock.
Cameras, it was
Yeah, they took the roll-up gate, they crowbar under the roll-up gate and got it open and
Did
got
they
in
try to
there, and then
steal-
they
did they steal
sledgehammered the
any?
doors.
There's a number of items that were stolen.
So
also.
was that the motivation, or was it, or they
I-
just?
If you look at it, I can only assume it was direct to do damage, not to steal. Because the destruction is, I've never seen anything like it.
What purpose?
Well, you would think if it were kids, and this is just my assumption, you would think that if it were kids that did the damage in one place, they'd hightail it out of.
Tim, a
there
little
and get it
closer,
done.
please, to the,
Yeah, and they ended up going to another park and doing the same amount of damage. So, I mean, we definitely should have cameras in
Yeah.
there, at least motion sensors and cameras moving forward.
Yeah, because they broke the lock in one bathroom, went around the building, broke the lock in another bathroom, and went in and completely obliterated that one as well. And then tried to get into the handicap bathroom. They broke the window. I guess they couldn't get in through the window. The only ones they didn't get in was where we had a steel door. But everywhere there was a lock with a wooden door, they just broke the door right down and got in. And then in Settlers Park, they got into they crowbarred up the roll-up thing and got into the commercial kitchen in there, and they smashed the lights and they sprayed fire extinguishers all, and they ripped the cabinets completely off, the face of the cabinets completely off the wall.
And they sold some items that were, I think there was a fundraiser for the concerts.
Yep.
A lot of the curtains and some signs
Some
and stuff.
signage and, yeah.
And did some donuts around the field, so there was a lot of damage to the field also.
when we put the cameras up, are we gonna put notices that people who might try to destroy the cameras or black them out, notice that says live images posted to the cloud? So that people know that even if they destroy the camera, whatever images are there are already there.
Signs are a good deterrent for anybody, but yeah, definitely.
You're gonna, okay,
Oh, yeah, definitely signs, sure.
you have
Yep.
to think that through.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Next, review the financial statements. The financial statement review is a, what do we call it? I forget.
Consent agenda.
A consent agenda item.
Um,
And we will remove any item from the list that someone wants to spend some time talking about.
Dan, on the revenue part, there was a big plus this year on a big grant. What was that all about?
That was the FEMA, the carryover this year to last year FEMA. Some of our FEMA application money was paid in July and August that we submitted in June or May, June of last year.
So we got a kind of advantage from that this year that we didn't know about last year, or has it been?
No, that's the only one that we had that was out of budget cycle. It's just a timing from last year to this year.
Okay, does that mean it really helps us this year, or do we kind of do some reserve mumble to make sure it was balanced? Or does it really help us this year?
It will help us as far as running a little surplus this year, yeah,
Okay,
because it was unanticipated revenue.
okay. Then, at some point, I'd like to have like a revenue meeting, you know, besides the budget meetings, we talked about having just one time where we review all the revenue stuff,
Yep.
right? You know, especially since the whole, you know, the commercial grand list and all that stuff came up as an important item last year with, you know, the economic development director. I'd like to have some time, you know, I don't know if during the budget or not during the budget, where we review, you know, again, have somebody come in and review, or you review the revenue side of the balance sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. We could, after we get the expenditure side done is when we start building the revenue budget. So we can certainly, you know, Tom, you're welcome to come in and work with us and John and when we build it out.
Okay.
We talked today with our building official about, just from a revenue standpoint, fees and our building fees. We're gonna look at potentially where we are with those because we are low and talk about raising some of our fees as well.
We should, Dan, why don't we plan to at our February meeting to carve out some time to go through your revenue recommendations?
Absolutely.
That be okay, Tom? Line item by line item.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
And just focus on the revenue side of the balance sheet, right?
Anything else in the fiscal report, consent agenda? If not, and we're more than happy, as you guys read this, to,
Well, I always ask Dan, is there anything that we should be, that you saw in there that's unusual or we should be worried about?
No, I think we're in a pretty good financial position right now. I mean, we're trending well ahead of last year at this time, primarily due to the storm. We're a little bit below where we were in 2024 at this time, but that has to do with the IBM refund of $857,000. So if we take that out, we're trending ahead of 2024 and 2025. So right now, we're estimating that we will have a little surplus again this year. So our fund balance will increase again this year.
for those of you who are more detailed oriented, when you look at the line item, the 8 or 9 pages of department line items, you'll see them color-coded with notes. And what Dan does, any line item that is beyond the normal percentage that would be spent in this many months of the year, he'll comment why that is okay. And this time, they were all okay, and he'll
Yeah, you
say watch or something. So the graphs, those big things, I'm afraid I don't pay any attention to, but thank you for showing them. But it's the detail line items is that's where the rubber meets the road. Exactly where are we out of whack? So we're in good shape so far.
Yeah, we're in, expenditure-wise, we're in really good shape. There's really no departments that, other than making annual or quarterly payments, that are drawn over right now, with the exception of the refund line. But the refund line, we did a transfer, it was approved, so now we're back in line with that, which was the IBM Kettletown Road refund.
And the expenditures are something we could do about. The revenues, we don't control the revenues. All we try to do is budget them as conservative and accurately as possible.
And even revenues, we're trending a little bit ahead on most. Even our, we were fortunate the way we budgeted our revenue for the staff, because we had already anticipated the rate cuts coming in, so we had them already built into our budget.
Yeah, well, I sent you that email right before this. I don't need to talk about it here, but I'd like to understand that more.
Yep.
I sent you the email about the stiff piece just right before. I don't need to talk about it here, but let's sort it out again.
Sure.
I'm really still a bit confused about the thing we talked about last time.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else on the treasurer's report, we'll go to transfers.
There were no transfers.
Best kind. Future business. Do we have anything that we're looking for? I don't think so. Okay, yes,
Could
Dan?
at some point we review where we are on the FEMA receipts versus what we expected?
We've gotten reimbursed from everything that we've submitted to FEMA.
Which means we're considerably ahead of what we expected, because we expected.
Timing-wise.
Timing-wise.
Timing-wise, yeah. And we.
The dollars are consistent, the
dollars are
timing is
consistent.
accelerated.
Yep. And then on top of FEMA, we've gotten additional grants for the library. We got $350,000 from the state. And for the tennis courts, the USTA just granted us $30,000, which will be paying for the fencing around the courts. So whereas it's generally 75%, some of these we're either 100% or closer to 90% funded.
Good. And what's remaining with the COVID monies,
The ARPA funds?
ARPA funds?
We have a couple of small projects that were not small. There's one big one, the splash pad, and then there's a couple of smaller ones. There's $2,000 for security or $12,000 for security cameras, and $7,000
For Settlers and Valentine?
Could you make it just a little bigger, Betsy, so we can,
So the splash pad is in there. I know there was a recommendation from the Park and Rec Commission to potentially move that, but that's going to be up to the Board of Selectmen to decide if they want to make a change to that for
So
park
The
equipment.
splash pad is the 200,000?
the 183?
And then we have
Three.
$12,000 for security cameras and $7,000 left for It's the remaining balance of the feasibility study for the town-owned property at exit 15, which I think that will be rolled into another project because
And
That project is complete.
the timeline by which we must actually spend that money?
we've taken the loss of revenue options, so we're beyond the timeline of the need to, so we're good.
So it would be up to the Board of Selectmen, I guess, on the first selectman's recommendation, to decide how to execute on those three items, when to do it, and if you're not gonna do some of the $7,000 or the $12,000 project, to reallocate it.
Well, I think the $12,000 project with the security cameras, I don't
Will
know,
be
Dan,
done.
will we roll those into the park places?
We can.
And then the Park and Rec came to us and wanted to reallocate the 1 to 83 from the splash pad to Ballantyne Park, and Board of Selectmen asked them to give us a report on what they're gonna make the expenditures for. We also included Settlers Park in that, because it's quite a large figure for playground upgrades.
I think you have flexibility to do what you want. You've got a
Unfortunately,
ARPA committee.
The ARPA task force was myself, Jason Bucksbaum.
Dick
Were you
Hill.
on there? John,
I was,
Dick Hill,
yeah, but-
John, and I think that was it, so half the committee's no
Justin
longer.
Betty?
Justin Betty. So half the committee is no longer with us, so we have to probably reconstitute that committee. Or we could probably let the Board of Selectmen make the decision as to how they want to do it. I would almost suggest him as taking the 7,000 of feasibility and adding it to the security camera line, and then we have $20,000, and we can really get some cameras in those parks.
Okay, thank you, Jack, for that. I think now we're down to reports. Tom, committee? IPOC?
Yeah, well, IPOC hasn't met since we last met, but, as I said last time, so the reserve fund is, I don't know, I haven't seen a report since September, but it's up roughly 3% quarter, year to date. The pension fund is up roughly, I think, 7% year to date, and the gift fund is a little bit below that, 6.5%. I'm trying to, one thing relative to the pension that we talked about, that we've talked about this before, is, and in looking at the pension thing that we looked at, about, at some point, because the half the pension's closed, right? We've talked about trying to get more conservative in our investment. It looks like from her thing that we probably should start doing that, circa, 2030, because that's when we start paying down aggressively, or maybe sooner than that. I keep pushing Chris on that, but it's hard. I think I sent out a thing to you guys about trying to do that without separating the two. So I think it's possible to do that without separating the police and the other, because when we tried to do it in the past, they both Milliman and Fiducian want to separate the two, but separating the two costs money. So I think we can execute that without necessarily separating the two, but I'd like to, again, keep pushing on that. But I keep giving me the feedback that it's maybe too early, and maybe it is too early, but I think sometime in the next year or two, I'd like to see if we can do that and push them a little harder on that.
And Tom, as of November, the library and the pension fund are of 6.68, and that's as of November 30th, and the reserve is 3.5.
But as I said about the pension, back to the original thing, well, it's a kind of a flip-flop, because next year, when we do the actuarials over a 5-year average of the return, so we have a big one rolling off next year, which is gonna bring the actuarial return off, and then we have a big negative one rolling off the next year. So 2 years from now, the 2-year effect will be flipped up and down, no matter what we get right now. But it's kind of just an actuarial thing that's gonna happen. That's it, I think.
I would encourage our new members to get a hold of the IPOC enabling document, which talks about how IPOC works, how it relates to the Board of Selectmen, how it relates to the Board of Finance with its 3 separate funds. Because we do this often, and
I still haven't, so Justin Betty was our Board of Selectmen representative, and he is no longer with us, so I still gotta work with you to see if we can get, who the new Board of Selectmen rep would be.
yeah, well, there's a vacancy, right?
Right.
He's got to appoint somebody.
We set that up. I don't recall which one we gave as liaison. I think it might have been Jason Van Stone.
As long as somebody,
Yeah.
who, not that important right now.
Updated at our
Okay.
Thursday meeting.
And de facto, Tim, welcome aboard. You're on IPOC also, so.
Yeah, you're also on it. So if you wanna
Yep.
come, it's once a quarter, next one's in
Got
February.
nothing else to do?
Always learn.
Okay, next, Board of Education. I got a call from Janet. She won nothing to report, and she had a conflict tonight, so we have nothing from the Board of Education. They're in budget session. They're still struggling what they're gonna do about replacing the 2 schools.
Yep.
So more later from them.
Have you reported on that at all? Because I think that's really important that at least the Board of Finance knows that the Board of Ed is looking to replace 2 elementary schools, just so everybody, to the tune of,
Yes, and
200
the board, they have asked a member of the Board of the first selectman and the chairman of the Board of Finance to sit in on the initial deliberations. They are taking it on themselves to figure out what to do. And then but they're working on it, and it's not simple.
yeah.
Right,
And
it's about-
there's a number of, I guess, benefits if they get it in this spring. They're looking for a referendum, the May referendum, to have it approved. They're talking about possibly building on the existing sites right now. They had 3 options. They're leaning more toward option B, is building Gainfield on Gainfield and building Pomperog Elementary on Pomperog Elementary, but it's big.
It's a very interesting but regrettably complicated problem, and they are on top of it. They know that there are financial issues if they don't have a referendum this May. So they know they need to push this.
What are the financial, why May?
The state, there's a funding scheme that sunsets at the state in June.
Yeah, the repairs would pretty much be close to the new build price tag of 200 million if they wanted to repair. If they put in pre-K, there's a bunch of discounts or percentages that the state would refund Region 15 on. And if they do take advantage of all of them, it's above 50% of a refund.
But to your point, Tom, the push to do it now, irrespective of what we might get back, has to do with, I understand, some state funding rules change in June. So they'd rather get an approval up to the state before the state funding rules change to their detriment after July 1st.
Well, but as we all know, time is money, and so if this is like,
And the sooner they
if
build it,
if this is a
the less it'll
gargantuan,
cost.
right, if this is a gargantuan cost,
Yeah.
I guess I want to, at least I'm going to ask them a lot about weighing giving up the grant versus waiting, right? But and what's the
Well, I think part of the concern from my watching of Board of Ed meetings and attending a couple of these is theoretically the state could offer these same enhancements in the future, but they're not guaranteed. So the concern is, well, if we don't strike while the iron's hot this May, it might not be there if we want them next year. So we're just not sure. I think there's just some
Well,
uncertainty.
I know, but isn't that kind of always true? In a little bit, I don't know.
Well, they're available now is, I think, the idea, so.
Okay, all right, anyway, so let's see what the proposal is. But in general, we're invited, for those who are new here, we're invited to their budget at the end. And
Yeah, I haven't gotten
on the
I put it on the schedule as the same as last year. I haven't gotten the dates yet from the region, but as soon
Was
as
it
I do, I'll
March
let everyone
25th,
know.
I think you
Yeah,
put it?
March 25th. It's usually around the 24th and 25th.
So we're
Could-
usually given input into their
Yeah.
budget, ahead of time.
I'll find out the exact
You
date.
get
I'll do
them
that.
and
Yep.
we'll adjust the schedule.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Insurance Working Group, there we have nothing to report. We haven't met. Bridges and Roads, Jack?
Been no meeting. There is no committee.
Okay, well,
We have to address that, how we want to move forward.
okay. Well, we will sit and talk to the first selectman about how he,
And
talk
Bla-
about that.
Blake, and, Blake
You're right.
has thoughts on it, and I have some thoughts on it, but
RUPAC, we've not had a meeting. The first selectman is a member of the RUPAC, and we should have, and he has traditionally chaired the RUPAC committee, so probably good for him sometime in the next couple of months if you would call a meeting and we will appoint a chair.
Yeah, we've been working on that also. There's a
Oh, okay.
number of vacancies
Terrific.
on RUPAC, and
That's
it's
fine.
about 11 members.
Okay. On the Energy Task Force, Tom?
We haven't had a meeting, we have one tomorrow night, but as said last time, I think the solar thing is just proceeding. So I don't know that there's any, I think it's gone through all proceeding now, they're getting to the practical aspect of doing it. So I don't think there's any hurdles in the way of doing that,
Okay.
proceeding right now.
Do we know, Tom, when they're thinking about starting on construction on that?
We probably do, I don't right now. I'll find out tomorrow night.
Okay. Because we should probably let Public Works guys know so they're ready as well.
Yeah, I'm sure Chuck knows, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, we are a regular meeting. If anyone thinks there's something we should bring up, we can add it by a 2/3 vote. We usually don't do that.
one question.
Jack?
At our last, was it our last meeting that Chuck came
Yes,
and presented?
yes.
And he had a time frame that was completion of this phase one in February, I think, if I remember. It could, he kind of hedged a little bit and said it could go a little longer, but February was his schedule.
Right, but it depends what phase one means, right? I think phase one meant pretty much making everything concrete and then, doing get down to where we know all the details.
I think it would be useful to ask him to come to our meeting in January or February, whatever the right time frame is, to share with us an update on that and the direction they're heading and the progress that they're making.
To that,
We're still waiting on DEP for that as well, I believe. They haven't reached out to us yet on that for the SMR2 grant.
Right. Also, make sure we get what we wanted out of this, which is the lost audit, the last story on the whatever that thing is over there, that we searched and searched and searched for and never found, but
Yeah.
we're supposed to get for free out of this.
I think also to that point, I talked with Tim, and the Board of Finance accepted this conditionally for the first phase only, because we wanted to be sure that all the economics that are approved and implied as this thing moves forward are fully understood. And you were going to put together a working group together to make sure we do that. Personally, there's no way I think that work could be done in the next 8 weeks, to be honest with you. But we'll see.
Well,
see.
yeah, it is in 3 phases, so I think the first is the educational phase, which is 17,000, and we'll see how that goes. We could opt out of it afterwards, or continue it, and I think
What's the 17,000 for?
That was phase one.
Phase one.
17,000. It was supposed to be outreach to the community, study it, whether there was an appetite for it, et cetera.
What, for the solar?
No,
No.
this is the SAUB.
No, this is for the potential, the transfer.
Oh, the transfer station,
Thing.
yeah. I wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of got off on a different.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
the solar, I think, it went through our, town attorney. He didn't see any issue with the contract. And then I think now it's with them. We're waiting on them.
Oh, okay. So when you were talking about the solar, you were talking about the UBP?
The
Solid waste.
The solid waste.
Okay. One thing that did happen on the solid waste is that I think we went back to them and said we could extend the time frame. Okay, we went back to the people that gave us the grant, and they were open to us pushing out the time, and allowing us more time to do phase one.
I think I might be accused, which project we're talking about.
Solid waste,
The solid waste, the pay to, quote, pay to throw, maybe?
pay to throw,
Right,
Throw.
Yeah.
the,
right, so we have 17,000.
the
Yeah,
Phase one.
the waste reduction expectations
Right.
or goals.
Right.
The methodology of achieving that, and as we discussed last time, from my vantage point, because they quote some huge waste reduction numbers in some nearby towns, Woodbury, Kent, and a couple of others. But none of it is changing consumption waste.
what?
Point of use waste. What I generate at my house. They're not changing packaging,
Well, it's
they're
just
not
where it
changing.
goes.
It's a question of where it goes, and I think we
Yeah.
want to
Well,
really
If it goes-
understand.
But if it goes in somebody's backyard, like I started doing with my composting, then it doesn't go to the town.
Well,
right?
but part of the understanding is understanding where all that
And-
waste is going.
And if it's coming from Woodbury and going into Southbury, that's my biggest problem
Right.
right now. Because I feel like we don't monitor anything up there. Blake swears we do, but we don't. And I have seen it over and over and over again. And so, even if we get nothing out of this but monitor it, I feel like we gotta win. I don't know. So you say it doesn't change anything. Yeah, it doesn't change, but it may change where
No.
it's coming from, right?
It doesn't change what we generate, it changes where it goes.
Well, what we generate.
And what
it
we
doesn't change
accept.
it might change who generates it outside of,
Correct.
outside
Right.
of town.
That's another issue,
Switching to a pay-as-you-throw system,
maybe.
change that?
Well,
Maybe.
monitoring would, but
Can we
don't-
achieve monitoring without charging people to throw? I mean,
And
isn't
I
that
think that's-
simply a
And that
matter
might
of
be-
Public Works
and that
doing
might
what they
be-
need to do?
Well, they're gonna say, unless we do something,
sticker.
they're just gonna say they do it and they don't do it, okay? So,
Well,
Guys,
Right, but how would we handle that in the other
Say that,
department?
I think that they do. I mean, anytime I'm up there, they're always checking,
And
at
we-
least, this is what I see,
We-
that they're always checking to see whether or not they have that tag on
it's
there.
because that little mouse under your car.
We sold, and we ended up, we
And I want to
issued-
shout, I want to shout out to
Guys,
the
please.
Public Works guys that work up there too. That place has never looked better.
We've issued 5,000 stickers to cars, Southbury residents, so they could throw up at the transfer station. So they are monitoring it. So there was 5,000, I think the number that was given to us today was over 5,000. So they are monitoring who and what goes up there. So, and I think we'll see in this budget cycle, you'll actually see a reduction in the hauling because of the way they're monitoring it.
Okay, good, that's what I want to see. But last year, they didn't say that. They said he had like, go up infinitum, more or less.
Tom, I think we're a little out of order.
I know.
We need to get this working group going so that all these issues are,
Or-
one, documented, two, researched,
Right.
and a definitive answer, to the extent that that's possible, is made so that we can agree as to the economics anyway, as to what our recommendation is about the rest of the grant.
Right.
So, okay.
So does that mean that, and it goes right through the budget, right? So when we'll see what the projections are on the budget.
I have no idea how it's going to affect the budget.
I think everyone will be surprised when they see the hauling numbers this year.
Okay, so that's good. I like that. Just by see what you focus on expands, right? Just by paying attention to it, you comes down.
Okay, if there's nothing else officially to come before the meeting, I will declare us adjourned. And
Thank
thank
you,
you.
sir.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Vivian, yes?
The 13th is a Tuesday, is that intentional?
Yeah, the 12th is Martin Luther King, I believe.